Michelle? With our Love Your Mattress kit.
Recording in progress. Martha? Yes. Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Director Turvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rubber absent, Mayor Fox? Noble? Yes.
Yes. It's an extra microphone.
It's not even, the camera's not even on.
Hold on. Yes, he is. Was.
Okay, it's not red anymore. Can any, I don't know if anybody's here that, has anybody else here that they can hear me on,
You good? There.
hello? So you have to check and see if you hear me speaking in there.
Okay,
No video, but they can
is
hear.
it text or not?
There's no video, but they can hear me.
I can hear no video.
Okay,
No video.
okay, well,
I'm fine.
it is Zoom though, right? All right, thank you, everybody, for your patience. 10 minutes of your life, you're never getting back. Okay, so did we get complete the resolution?
Yes. We did.
Okay. Okay, congratulations to,
Did we vote?
You didn't vote.
We did.
I think you
Oh,
did.
did we? Okay, you seconded. Yeah, I did the roll. I'll do it again. Okay. Mr. Marco?
Yeah.
Mr. Noble? Yes. Mr. Gubatose?
Should I change my mind this time?
Mr. Pepper, absent Mayor Fogg.
yes,
Okay, perfect.
again, congratulations, a lot of hard work on that.
Yeah.
They recognize. A lot of hard work on the contract and a lot of hard work by you guys, so I can't tell you how much we appreciate all of you guys, so appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna go now to workshop discussions. We're gonna try to do each for 20 minutes. I think we can compress the 319 Lorraine. The 319 Lorraine, we hadn't met, we hadn't updated people in the last couple of meetings. And we're very close to having a completed analysis for the council to review. We're really, I want to say in the next day or so, we spoke to the appraiser today. We're close, but the three things that we've been working on, I'll just tell everybody what we're working on, and then we'll begin to provide that to the council. We did ascertain or get an estimate on a demolition cost for the site. We've got an appraiser in to appraise the value of the site and also the value of 4 conforming lots. Also, then what are the other ancillary costs, kind of gross and the net, and that's pretty much done. I think he's validating one number for us, and he'll have that for us the next day or so. And then the survey, the formal survey, which I think we'll have within the next
Few weeks.
okay, the next 2 weeks. So we can parcel out the information that we have for the council, because the first 2 items, they're not going to change by the detail of the survey, but we're very close to having that complete, and then we can confer on the next steps. And I didn't want to speculate a lot on those next steps at this point, but I'll answer any questions anybody has. I didn't want to go into the actual numbers right now, but you'll have those pretty quick. Hopefully, did Jay say did he say today or tomorrow or Friday? Kim?
He hopes by the end of the week to share it with the council
Right, okay,
in at least draft form.
right, okay. Yeah, he said draft, that's right, but it's gonna be pretty much, it's, good information. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Yes.
Just a quick one. I know that there's some language in the contract of sale when we purchased this property that said basically the meeting association, I thought, had right of first refusal on certain artifacts.
Correct.
We investigated what we would need to give them right of first refusal on, or we still working on it.
I think that's gonna be a meeting with mayor and council and camp meeting association. Because it's not explicitly spelled out.
I imagine that's gotta get woven into the demolition
Oh, absolutely.
discussion.
Yeah, I think so. I
Absolutely.
agree.
Yes. But we wanted to get that information first. But we can actually start that conversation, but we can't complete it until we really have to appropriate information, and then we'll decide to go forward. Yeah. Any other questions at this point on that? Yes. Close out the council portion.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. Thank you for the update, Mayor. I just want to clarify, I know you've only been a mayor for 2 years. We've had instances before where the town is exempt from land use, going to the land use board. And what I would request for this 4-lot subdivision is that there be a courtesy meeting with the land use board, noticing the neighbors within 200 feet, just like a regular subdivision would be for any other individual. I think it's a courtesy to the neighbors, how it's going to be set up, where the curb cuts are going to be. And just to avoid any other conflicts, because we had the conflict about the beach restaurant. When they had the courtesy meeting, it was a lot of people came out and a lot of people were not happy. I don't anticipate that, but I think in all fairness, even though the town is exempt from the land use board, that still a courtesy meeting should take place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll close that out. We have sorry, wrong place. Chapter 5 ordinance, again, a 20-minute discussion. I don't have anything really to share at this point. If anybody else does.
I think, I was on the impression, I wasn't participating in the meeting, but I was on the impression Councilman Weber came back to me from the agenda meeting and said, I was under the impression, Mr. Mayor, that you wanted to have a workshop on that topic.
No, I think the intent was to not have a discussion relative to the introduction of the ordinance. There was a discussion. The only discussion item I wanted to get into was the dollar. The last meeting. I'm sorry, you're absolutely right, Council. The dollar ceilings and I'll call it the low and high end amounts of approval by the administration. The last meeting we had, our business administrator wasn't here to kind of talk about the implication of that. That was really the only thing I felt as though needed to be discussed more. So I don't know, Kim, if you want to make a couple of comments at this point.
About which portion of,
Lowering the bid threshold.
my suggestion, as a QPA administrator, finance department, is that if you were gonna lower your threshold, 17.5 probably would be a good number, because that's the pay to play threshold, where you have to acknowledge a professional. When you start lowering it to other levels, it's more difficult to track. It just puts another mechanism in for the finance department, administration, QPA to follow. And the number that was given was it was a difficult number. And then when you say your professionals, you really need to define what's a professional. I know that for the council, it might be one thing, but for an administrator or a department head, it's another. The state gives the thresholds because they go through, we know what the cost of things are, and it has to do with your bidding threshold. So it all goes together. That was a lot. And I know you're probably trying to solve a different problem by implementing that, but I don't think that's probably the best route.
I think I am trying to solve what I think is a challenge at least, but I said in the last meeting, I'll say again, I'm not locked into the $4,000 threshold that is in the preliminary draft. But I am thinking at that lower end. I wasn't thinking 17.5 either. If someone said 5,000 or 6,000 instead of 4.
So you have a quote threshold that is at this time 6,600, which I believe the state's actually looking to do an early increase because of inflation. So I mean, 6,600, I could see that being a number, because at that point, you're required to get quotes. We do it in-house, like that's not something that you guys would see, but we have a mechanism in our you can't even process something without an additional quote. The purchasing manual that you passed by resolution also says that we recommend 3 quotes, but 2 is okay for 6,600, so that might be a number you can work with as well. I do see, that's kind of low still, but especially if you have a department where they have that mechanism in their budget to get a professional in. Like you might have the shade tree when they got the arborist in.
Mhm.
So then like that wouldn't have been able to been awarded without a resolution. So you just have to remember that sometimes you need a continuity factor, that some things have to happen. And, as long as you take that into consideration, I believe, or maybe there's just some type of communication that really needs to happen and not a change of your purchasing manual and your finance policy.
And those current amounts tied to the state
Yeah.
statutes, is that right?
Well, it's the state recommendation.
State recommendations, yeah, not statutes.
Yeah, and every 5 years they increase it, so you'd be bringing the numbers back to like the 80s. That number, when
Right,
it comes to functioning.
right. And part of the concern, at least that we're trying to wrestle with is simply how much spend can take place without the council's awareness, because
17.5
QPA
with a certain vendor,
and
that's the
QPA
state, yeah,
can go up to 44,000, correct?
yes, but at 17.5, you do a resolution of spend. So, if you, so you're using that vendor. But remember, that's where your budget comes into play, because a department can't overspend their budget. So if that contract amount is within their budget, really, they should be able to spend if there is a project that they're doing.
All right, now this helps. Me
Because you
understand.
can't, that's why it's so important within the budget to look at the prior spend, the prior year spend, and see what those numbers are. Department heads are usually asked, what is their spend? Like, I knew I had to do a payroll assessment, so I knew that the spend was going to be minimum this amount, but could go up to a certain amount, so it was in the budget. And a paid claim was spent. So, yeah. That's different ways of looking at it, and I think communication is probably key.
Right, we did. I don't know, did anyone else have questions or comments about that particular provision? I wanted to say, I think there was. Oh, I know what it was, in our last meeting, Ms. Marco raised turned out to be a very good question, just around whether or not we needed to amend, I'm looking for it. In the draft ordinance, it's item C. 59A. I'm sorry, 59C, the order of business. And Ms. DeMarco had said, if we had an item called review of agenda, which is in the draft, that would preclude us from discussing the items. And I did not realize that until she brought that up, but I actually now have learned that that is in fact true. So I think one thing we should consider is excluding that as a new addition to the ordinance. So again, we're not voting on anything tonight, but going forward, my personal preference would be to not include review of agenda under 59-59C.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. I would support that too.
And then finally, I had I sent an email. I know I copied the council, so just for discussion purposes, we have under 5-11 subsection 5. Thank you. Under powers and duties of the mayor is able to appoint with advice and consent of council a number of different positions already. Including, for example, borough council, business administrator, chief financial officer, auditor, borough attorney, and engineer. Others too, tax assessor, tax collector, borough clerk, and treasurer. But I at least wanted to discuss, should we add some additional titles, for example, borough planner, the different descriptions that we have in place for our attorneys or engineers. For example, a tax appeal attorney, the mayor should be able to appoint with advice and consent of council. Coastal engineer, sewer engineer. And then one final item that I was at least proposing to discuss in the workshop today is adding an appointment with advice and consent of council liaisons. So I like this because it puts all of these different pieces together. And it leaves the choice of all these positions, you know, within the auspices of the entire council. It starts out with the mayor's nomination, but for any one of these, again, half of them are already included. The other half or so that I'm suggesting adding, just give us a more comprehensive list, I think, of appointments that the entire council would be involved in approving.
I disagree. I think this is a form of government that is right, wrong, or indifferent. It was voted on in the 1990s, early 1990s, to be a strong mayor model. That says that the mayor runs the government, the administration, makes appointments, makes nominations. A year ago, Council President Sexsmith brought up the fact that if we want to change a significant amount of our administrative code, we should do a charter study. I didn't particularly agree with Council President Sexsmith, and he actually surprised me by bringing that up. But I'm kind of tending to think more and more that if we're going to continue to take swipes at our administrative code, we should do it in a comprehensive manner. You know, people in this town voted for that in a referendum 20 years ago. That's the model. And again, taking swipes at it, I don't think makes a lot of sense. The idea of advice and consent too, I want to just kind of talk about that for a second. I think we've migrated from advice and consent to manage and control. And let me explain what I mean by that. If I make a nomination and it's on the advice and consent of the council, it really should be, the criteria should be, is there a significant financial issue with this that I need to say, wait a minute, I don't agree, or is there a significant performance issue? What I saw happen this year was that it wasn't that. It turned into, no, we're going to make the appointments, and we had about 20 appointments, and 11 were kind of thrown to the side and said, you know, we want these people. And advice and consent should, and I don't want to use a derogatory term of like a rubber stamp. It's not a rubber stamp, but it is that. It's advice and consent. It's not approve and control. So I think we've kind of crossed that line this past year. 2 years ago, we had 1 or 2 appointment changes. Last year, we had 1 or 2 appointment changes. This year, we walked in the door and we wanted to change everything. And I just don't agree with that. Advice and control is a check and a balance, like at a local level of government. Just like in the federal system, there are 3 branches of government, and it's a check and a balance. But in our form of government today, this form of government is a strong mayor model. I'm supposed to make the appointments, the nominations. I'm supposed to do that with advice and consent of the council. Appointments are liaisons, appointments are land use boards, appointments are committees and commissions, and that's our form of government. So I don't necessarily agree with the idea that you know, we should shift this, because I think we've shifted it to a point where we're starting to lose the definition of our government. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and my only reaction is, number one, what I'm proposing here, whether we all agree or not. I wanted to get it out for discussion, but I'm clearly not changing our form of government. I'm working within the form of government that exists today. So it's nowhere near as dramatic as former Council President Sexsmith recommended. Our form of government says the mayor appoints certain individuals, treasurer and tax assessor and so forth, with advice and consent of the borough, with advice and consent of the council. And then our form of government goes on to say, and any other positions, any other officers that, and all these positions are effectively officers that are accounted for in our ordinances. So again, I think this is at least a proposal that would still work within our existing form of government. Is it asking for a few more positions to be subject to advice and consent of council? Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, I know you would see that as, encroaching upon, your authority as mayor, and in fact, it is taking away some of that authority. But it's taking it away within our form of government. It's not, we're not changing the form of government.
I just don't agree with that. So we can, agree to disagree, but the strong mayor model has pretty explicit, these are the appointments, these are the nominations, and again, I think we're just taking swipes at it. So that would be my opinion. So I don't know if anybody else has an opinion.
I'd like to hear from our borough council, Greg Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are very familiar with the issues. I received, my opinion. I got opinions from 4 other people that were commissioned by the mayor. And section 122 says that it's the assessor, collector, treasurer, attorney, and such other officers that are appointed. That are dominated by ordinance or with the advice and consent of council. I mean, that's what the law is. Section 124 sort of counterintuitively indicates that the mayor is responsible for recruiting and selecting those qualified for the officers and employees of the town. Right. So there is not a black and white answer to the appointment question. Right. It's 122, and you can say anything you put in the ordinance can be appointed with the advice and consent of council. But the mayor could say in section 124, I'm responsible for selecting and recruiting the officers and employees of the borough, right? It's a quirk of the Faulkner Act that creates a conflict of laws issue that comes to light when the council and the mayor here are disagreeing on who to appoint to various positions. The one thing that this has been my chief concern from the beginning, which has not been accounted for in any of the 4 countervailing opinions that I received. We're all talking about professional services. All these people were appointed, not employees, they're professional services. And none of the countervailing 4 opinions that I received explained to me how we're appointing professional services. Some clearly are going to be paid above the bid threshold without a resolution of the governing body, advice and consent aside. In fact, those 4 countervailing opinions all leave it as the mayor can leave all these people in place for the entire course of his term. That violates not only potentially the monetary threshold, but section 15 of the Local Contracts Act says that a professional service contract cannot be more than 1 year. So, those are real concerns that are outside this academic argument about the Faulkner Act that I've addressed in full, in my opinion. I've suggested chapter 5 edits that bring us to a point that close the loop on the lack of advising consent or failure to nominate. I think that solves the legal issues, but in a closed loop that gets everyone paid when the auditors come as authorized. I recognize that the mayor disagrees. And, I don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, what I wrote to you numerous times, I implore you all to come up and compromise and figure out a position that doesn't require the borough to litigate the issue. But that's the best that I can do for you in closing the loop on, if we all don't agree and people are here for more than 1 year as professionals being paid, there's no vote. I'm not really sure how that works. It's just a practical matter beyond all of the legal argument that we're the esoteric Faulkner Act argument up there. So, again, compromise solves everyone's problems. It's why we don't go to trial in my business. And so I encourage you guys to do that. That's the best that I can do for you. I'm more than happy to make those changes that you guys all mentioned, to review the agenda and what have you. I'm not sure we're gonna, we can sit here all night and argue it. I just gave you the law issue.
And I appreciate that. And I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, because I can kind of add on to that comment. I think we've spent since last year an inordinate amount of time on something that I don't think's really moving the town forward. We met in January and I mentioned 4 things that I'd really like us to concentrate on as a council and as a community. And that's our footprint, which needs a lot of work. And we put that in abeyance with 319 Lorraine Avenue exercise that we went through for almost 2 years. Main Street, which we spent no time talking about. Coastal resilience. We're not spending any time on that. And diversity and inclusion. We had one presentation on our assets in town. I actually had one of my counterparts up here saying, well, why do we do that? We wasted time. I don't think that's a waste of time. It's a strategic area that's been neglected in this town. So again, I just think we're spending a lot of time on something that's not moving the game forward, not moving the town forward, like closing kind of shop, like closing point.
And my closing point, Mr. Mayor, would be, this in no way is obstructing us from doing anything else that would move the town forward. In fact, this is my effort, at least, to propose to the council solutions to challenges we face where we have been stonewalled. Specifically, we have 4 positions that should have been reappointed or someone else should have been appointed for auditor, for engineer, for labor attorney, and for the other attorney.
But that's an example of we're wasting our time because
Because we should just allow the mayor to decide what professionals we
as
hire.
I said before, in the past 2 years, we had 1 or 2 changes. This past year, it was a significant amount. The really it's 4 positions that are left. All are highly competent people that have done a good job for us and continue to do a good job for us. My principle there is, why am I going to change the continuity of an engineering resource? Why am I going to take an auditor out who's now being recommended to other towns by our CFO because of the work they've done? We just sat in a 2.5 contract conversations, and that labor attorney, I think, has done an outstanding job. So my issue is, this should have been a layup back in December, January, but it wasn't.
It should have been a layup as long as we all agreed with you.
No. When I hear from a councilman, we got the votes and this is the way it's gonna be. Unfortunately, no, I don't agree with that approach. I agree with putting the best people in place and having a continuity in government. That's what I believe.
Well,
So-
I think we all agree on putting the best people in place. We just disagree necessarily on who those people are. But again, the words advice and consent, your reference was, it means approve and control.
No, I did not say that.
I wrote it down.
You said rubbish.
No, what I said was that advice and consent, in the context of how I understand it, is I make a nomination, I make an appointment. If there's a significant financial issue, performance issue, I would welcome a conversation with the council. And 2 years ago and last year, that's what we did. This year, that's not the case. So my point on the other 2 words I used, control and manage, was what we're migrating to, which is inappropriate. So that's what I meant.
Well,
And that's what I thought when I said it.
what the public, I don't want to belabor this, what the public may or may not realize is we went through a very exhaustive process, giving you, Mr. Mayor, all of our opinions. I personally gave you very strong reasons why there were certain changes I felt we should make. I don't know necessarily what my colleagues did, but we all gave you our opinions. And you decided you didn't like our opinions, and you have locked up at least 4 of these professionals, arguably a 5th if I include a HFA. So you've locked them up because you don't like people's opinions that disagree with you.
I would unfortunately, I would respectfully disagree that it's not a question of locking up, or it's a question of the process we've gone through in the last 2 years and the process that we went through this past year for 2 different processes, and the process has shifted away from advice and consent to control and approval. And we probably aren't going to solve this tonight, and we're already over on this this time. So we'll take 5 minutes of questions and move on. Yes.
Thanks. Mary Baxter, 218 4th Avenue. The dialogue, actually, I'm glad you're having dialogue, but it was kind of odd. I don't think all the council needs to be involved in, I think somebody mentioned 17.5. No, of course not. That's a waste of everybody's time. But where I would like the council involved as a point of checks and balances, if you have a majority or even a minority of council members who disagree, I would want to know why. Because you're going to be the outlier. And this whole strong mayor thing, it's not black and white. You literally use the word rubber stamp. It's, what's the point of electing council people?
But I remember the context was I said that's a bad way of saying it. I was trying to think of another word for
But
it.
it's a very clear
Yeah.
by what you mean, and I don't want to counsel that rubber stamp.
Well, no.
I don't want to count, I'm talking, it's my time.
No, I know, but I just need to clarify this point. The 2 points that I've tried to be very clear on is if there's a financial issue with appointing somebody or a performance issue, that should be brought up. I absolutely agree with that.
Good, well, I think we're in violent agreement on
Okay.
that. It's just what I want to make sure. I think what our lawyer was alluding to is, this is shades of gray, right? It's not as clear as it could be. But I do want, in my view, council is there as a means of checks and balances, not that you're doing anything wrong, but we do need checks and balances. And I don't think a strong mayor means you ignore everybody and go your own path.
I would agree.
But, you know, so that's what I would ask. It is shades of gray. You may have to work to whatever you want, but I, for one, it is a strong mayor model. I think we all know that, right? It's come up a lot in this meeting and a lot of meetings. Great, I don't have an issue with it, but what I'd like clarity on is, where does the council come in? And we are talking about professionals and stuff like that. I do think, I don't think you have to get consensus on all your decisions. No, that's not practical. But I do think they should have input, and I think the input should be taken under advisement and considered seriously.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Thomas J. Colan, 612 Third Avenue. Mayor, you just mentioned like removing an engineer and an auditor. Well,
moving an engineering work.
well, that's what's proposed, to remove an engineer who's done good work and an auditor. But I want to point out, there was an election in 2020. And then when you took office, you removed the town engineer and the auditor at the time. So I don't understand how now, because there was another election, that it's a problem. People have different opinions. I'd also like to know
I
why.
don't understand your point.
Well,
Sorry.
you're criticizing them for doing exactly what you did.
No.
No, your administration changed the town engineer, now we have a CME. You also changed the auditor that was in place.
I said earlier that in 2021, we had some discussion amongst the council
Mhm.
about making a couple of changes. We made those changes. And I was in agreement because it was solid rationale. In 2022, the same occurred. So I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, what's your reasoning for having these council members spend time and fill out waste sheets and give it, and then you just say, no,
Because it's a requirement.
okay, great, well then, but you don't utilize the requirement in the advice consent.
No, absolutely. I take the input and had hours of discussion with the council. Unfortunately, in a few of these cases, there wasn't a financial reason or a strong performance reason to make a change.
Well, I'd like to just relate it to the current situation we're in. We're advertising for a BA. The resumes were supposed to be in by the end of the month. Have you shared those resumes with the council?
Okay, that's really
No,
not.
no, it does, because what I'm.
No, it really doesn't.
Really
Really doesn't.
No, because what I'm elaborating is, how can they give advice and consent if they haven't seen who the applicants
Because we're not even at a point where we can assess what the top applicants are. Who the top
are?
applicants
Determined
are.
by who?
Determined by well, it's gonna be, we're gonna use a search company to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, it's just, I mean, again, the council doesn't know how many resumes have you accepted?
I think we've gotten 15 resumes, but that's just the beginning of the process.
But how would the council determine who the best applicant is if they haven't seen all the resumes? You get to audit the resumes and submit the ones that you pick. This is the problem. This
No,
is,
it's not a problem.
yes, it is.
No, it's not a problem. You're creating or defining a problem that's not there. We're in the process of getting started with this search, so you're making assumptions about the process that you're not really aware of.
What I'm trying to do, sir, is avoid the same situation that we're in now with these professionals.
No.
that we have carryover professionals without the consent of the council.
I
But
appreciate
I
that.
see how you work. I see your
I-
administrative. skills.
That's,
Thank you.
that's unfortunate that you made that comment. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
I mean, Shakir, one of with Adam, I think this was a very healthy discussion to observe. But I have to share a very honest opinion. Mayor, the ball is in your court to start compromising. You're not, and it comes clear across, it's either your way or no way. And that is an observation that I had watched. I notice your body language, and as soon as you have somebody come up here that you don't agree with, I see the interaction with your council. You're the person, you're the leader. You pride yourself on being a strong mayor. Show it with beginning to compromise and be respectful to everyone.
I
Thank
think,
you.
I think I am respectful of everyone, Mr. CS number one, but two, if you look at the appointments that we've done to date, I would suggest that I compromise more than anyone with the council relative to those appointments. That you may not be aware of, but I came to the table with a number of compromises. We walked into a council meeting with 11 areas that we were not agreeing on, and I was able to work with the council to get that down to basically 3 or 4. So that was initiated by myself. So you may not see that, but
Well, the appearance, when I'm watching and observing these council meetings, you clearly do not give the impression you are willing to listen or compromise with your councilmen. And they are all elected, you are all elected to represent the taxpayers and the residents of this town.
absolutely, I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Nancy Meadow was a part condominium. Mr. Gubidosi, you made a comment that was so perfect that it's out of my mind. I'll have to review the tapes and use it next week. I would like to see, well, let's start with Mr. Sexsmith, who, after he mentioned different forms of government, I asked for months to proceed with those presentations. That ball was dropped not only by him, but by the council at that time. I think strong mayor council, strong mayor government, depends on literally the strength of a mayor. And I do believe in checks and balances. That's why I'm a bookkeeper. And we don't have any. And I count on the 4 council people to be my checks and balances. And I would extend it not just to professionals. I extend it to department heads. And with all due respect to our interim BA, I hope you will embrace us and do a wonderful job while you're here. Where's advice and consent on that? You're paying somebody $100 an hour, has been reported. And I have not heard, perhaps because I just missed it, because we know we have secrets, but I was not aware that there was any advice or consent. More importantly, consent on this hire. So along with your professionals,
Well, stick around. It's a resolution.
why are you interrupting me?
I-
That's not the point.
I'm trying to-
I asked the question.
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't ask to be interrupted.
Sorry.
So that was where she's saying to listen, please listen. So I extended to all of our department heads and maybe the second people in there to protect us, please. The waste of money, the waste of assets, and the assets that were not presented when we presented assets. All come together with how our council can get the work done that they were elected to do.
Thank you. And 2023-93, we're covering your concern. Thank you. Okay, there's nobody on the line, so we're going to move to presentations and bids. On the agenda, it's a proclamation in honor of Women's History Month. As I mentioned earlier, today is International Women's Day. It's a focal point in the women's right. It is and was a focal point in the women's rights movement. It brought attention to issues like gender equality, reproductive rights, violence and abuse against women. In 2022, an interesting fact that gender equality, the theme by the UN was gender equality today for sustainable tomorrow, looked at the sustainability of progress in our world by having better participation and better rights for all of our citizens and all of our world citizens. So I thought that was particularly because we are very environmentally and sustainability conscious, it was very appropriate. But we do have a proclamation. I've asked Council President DeMarco to read that and take it away.
A proclamation recognizing Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. Whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now therefore be resolved by the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach that March is designated as Women's History Month.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate it, Council President. Okay, we'll now move to approval of minutes. Make a motion to approve February 22nd, 2023 Council Business Meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Marco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes,
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. Make a motion to approve February 22nd, 2023 executive session minutes. Make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Marco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
yes,
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. Public comments pertaining to this, the 3(8) agenda items only, 5-minute limit, single instance per participant. Any questions on the agenda? Yes.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I had a question about the lockers. The resolution is not specific about the disbursement of the locker locations. It's only dealing, we did the workshop, you set the price, now the price is in here, but there was never a consensus as to how the lockers were going to be distributed. That should really be included in the resolution.
We did not put it in the resolution because the primary reason for the resolution tonight is we need the fee schedule done. We're completing all the elements of the re-engineered process right now. So if you have a specific question about what
How they're going to be dispersed, that was my
they're
question.
going to be dispersed based on people getting online.
In order, or, there's a number of different things we talked about in seniority or in order of your application.
Right.
Or,
See, we looked at seniority and unfortunately, there is not a beginning of time seniority. It picks up when the current assistant clerk started a spreadsheet. I don't know what the year was, 2000 and something. The process was recommended by the administrative team was, and Community Play, that's the name of the company,
Community
Yes.
pass.
Pass.
Community pass.
Yes, I'm sorry, and it's community something. It's basically it's a random system within each beach.
So can we just confirm it's gonna be a random
Yes.
distribution?
Yes.
And we all know that, and then that'll be included in the letter that the website said.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no, we're working on
And,
it.
and you'll state that it'll be a random.
Yes, we're laying out a whole process for that.
And,
Yes.
and I did talk to Spring Lake about it, and they actually Community Pass maintains their wait list. They
Yes,
still have.
they're going to for us too.
They are, great. Okay, my next question was about the Lake Terrace ADA improvements. I mean, are we comfortable with the lowest bidder? I know when we talked about the roof, we were worried about doing the lowest bidder, but are we worried about it on this one?
I'm always worried about,
You don't have a choice. With
you know, the choice really.
Okay, and then on the bills list, I had a couple questions. You have something on here for Riverside Construction Materials in the amount of $10,495 for salt. So I'm just wondering why we're buying salt now when there's been no snow, and do we get a deal on it because it'll be cheaper than next year?
I don't know. I think we purchased that salt. Kim,
But yeah, the salt gets purchased less.
what's that?
You're asking about salt purchase?
Like it was purchased and committed to a while ago.
Yes, we have to promise a certain amount of salt purchase
So they'll.
through a while.
Till February, so we're.
Yeah, when their invoice comes in,
Where physically is the salt now?
in the salt dooms.
Here for us?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we can't by local public contract. We cannot pay until we receive.
that's what I was.
And then we have to wait for the invoice to come in, review it, make sure we got it, and then so it does take some time.
So we have salt for next year.
We do.
So we can adjust the budget for that. The next question I have is about Mr. Awala's bill for the auditor.
Oh,
It seems very odd. It's 3 different payments for $9,666.
For which one?
Oliver, the auditor.
It's for last, the prior order.
Well, it says the annual audit, but then it says auditor fees.
Mhm.
So those fees are, it's just an odd way to bill. You're billing $9,600 3 times.
Mhm.
And the bills came in, the bills are. When you have a bill every quarter? No? And the bill, and the amounts are all the same. It just
Yeah.
seems an odd billing structure. for an
Can you
auditor.
tell me what page it is? Would you
Sure.
mind?
Sure. Page 11. Yeah, mid-page. Thanks so much, man.
they did. Yes.
Can I explain why it's 3 different?
Sure.
Different accounts, so it gets charged, it gets broken up.
Different accounts.
Current fees, sewer.
Right,
If
sewer,
you- Yeah, so if you take a look at the budgets, right, and you have a 2, that says the year. 01 means from current fund, 05 means sewer, 07 means beach. So that's how it was appropriated in the 22 budget, and that's how it
it's
gets
still the
paid out.
same for all 3?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's a good answer. Yes.
I'm sorry, this may be at about appropriate time, and Mr. Farabee, moving forward, is it possible to get the bill list printed out by account as opposed to one, like, I just, an admin's just printed out by account, that way we can see if there's something that maybe is a capital purchase that's not in the, like, capital funds, I mean, that's, I know you can do it in that.
You can, the only thing is then it changes the check order, and so when we have Oprah requests and certain different requests, it's much easier. To look it up in alphabetical order. And that's the way it's been done, so to change it. I don't think we can change it separately. Once it's done either, I was gonna say, I was wondering if maybe we can do it.
Well, I'll play around to see if I can figure something out.
Yeah, but the account number is there.
Yeah, no, I noticed that.
Yeah.
It's just for me, I think when, like to Mr. Cohen's point with his question, I think for me, if it's separated out, it makes more sense to me. Like I can say, this goes to the garbage, this goes to the beach utility, this is our,
Right.
current funds. So that's all.
Yes.
I mean, Shishir from Southworth Avenue. I have a question about the bill list. Why are we paying finance charges? Why aren't our bills paid on time and we're getting financed?
It depends, what's the page number?
I don't know the page number. I have it. McKinsey Medical Surgical LLC, medical supplies.
McKesson.
Yeah, that was something that we found from in cleanup for a 2021 purchase.
Can go to page 9, if that helps.
Yeah, no, I already did, I knew the name of the company, so we've
Can you
been,
explain that to me a little bit better so I can understand it?
so it was a 2021 purchase that, was from like March or April of 2021.
Right.
It was not paid, so we are getting done with all our audit of accounts and we had to pay it. And you're correct, they should be paid. That's what is the current payment law. And now that everything is cleaned up, they shouldn't happen. I can't speak for prior administration.
But how could the borough allow this bill to be so delinquent?
Well, part of the reason that we started using a financial services company to look at all this at the end of fourth quarter of 2021, we realized there were a lot of deficiencies in our financial systems. We began then cleaning all this up, and we've been continuing to clean it up. We're getting close to the end of cleaning it up. But there were a lot of deficiencies in our financial systems.
Well, obviously, that's apparent.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more.
And it's a reflection on. Who is it a reflection on?
Unfortunately, it's a reflection on past practices. I'll take the reflection on the current group is saying, let's fix this stuff, and we put a lot of effort and resources into fixing it, putting procedures and processes in place that precludes this from happening. Or stuff, if things gonna happen, yeah, every now and again, out of the blue, something might happen, but we were finding enough stuff at the latter part of 21 that we said, time out. Got to get a financial services group in here to look at this and get our processes in place, and that's what we do.
And who's we?
The administration.
You? I'm sorry, the mayor.
Well, the mayor would, on a day-to-day basis, no.
But we're,
So what happened was when I came in mid 2021. By the time the end of 21 came, I realized there were some deficiencies
there
and
any
we
way-
started to address them.
Previous people who were in charge should be held responsible for any of this?
That would be.
yeah,
I think so.
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
not looking, I'm not
I don't-
suggesting.
They're not here anymore, that's.
yeah, the
that's-
CFO, the combination of the CFO and Kim have, I think, done an outstanding job, in my opinion. There was a lot to clean up, and we'll continue to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other questions. We're gonna move to ordinance introduction. We have one ordinance introduction, ordinance 2023-5. It's an ordinance amending chapter 425 trees, the borough's revised general ordinance to clarify and enhance certain state regulations. This is for those, and I'll ask Councilwoman to comment, but the Shade Tree Commission has been in place for a couple of years now. They've made a couple of reassessments of the ordinance, and this is really just to clean up some of those things, but take it away.
Yeah, Dr. Heflick, he's the former chairman of the Shade Tree Commission, and Councilman Weber have worked very hard on this, and I want to thank them. I'd also like to thank the Shade Tree Commission. It hasn't been around that long, but it's done a lot of work in preserving and promoting our tree canopy. The tree canopy refers to the part of our borough that's shaded by trees. The American forests recommend that we have a 40% tree canopy. We recently did an asset inventory of our trees, very similar to what the mayor was talking about before. And unfortunately, our tree canopy is at 16.7%, so not near the 40%. So what do? We have a tree expert. And he says that right now, we're losing our trees right now to disease, to age, and to development. Now we have a little bit more mindful process. we have the Shade Tree Commission and we have this ordinance. We also have our tree expert, Mr. Brash. He said a prudent way to approach this unique circumstance is to adopt a plan to plant what you can, where you can, as much as you can. It presents an opportunity to seek state funding whenever funding is available. And this is an excellent program. It's an excellent ordinance. And I want to commend the Shade Tree Commission. I've been a member and I'm now the liaison for the commission. And I want to thank them to preserve and protect our very valuable asset of our trees. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman. So I will now ask if any other council have comments on this ordinance introduction. If not, I'll move the motion to introduce ordinance 2023-5. Amending chapter 425 trees, boroughs, revival, general ordinance, supply of land, and that's certain shade tree regs.
Second,
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. Communications, we had two communication changes. We had two transfers within a couple of departments between the board and community development. And that's in the package. Resolutions. We have a number of resolutions. I'll try to go through those with some case. 2023-83, approval of a this the consent portion. Yes. Consent portion. Consent portion goes through. Thank you, sorry. So, thank you. So I'll read through the consent portion. 2023-83 approval of refund for street opening deposit to Chris Grover, Peak Construction in the amount of $5,500 for 123 Kent. Almost got a bonus. 2023-84 authorizing the appointment of special class 1 law enforcement officers attending the Mega Fest Monmouth County Police Academy. 2023-85 authorizing the appointment of the special class 1 law officer attending the June class of Monmouth County Police Academy. 2023-86 authorizing the appointments of returning special class 1 law enforcement officers. 2023-87 approval of the National Multiple Sclerosis Society to conduct a charity bicycle for Saturday, May 13th, 2023 from 7 a.m. to 4. This is a pass-through bike event. 2023-88 approval of the Open Haven Music Fest to conduct their 5K run Saturday, September 9th for 2023 from 9 to 12. Also a pass-through run only. 2023-89 approval of Kaleidoscope of Hope Foundation to conduct their 15th annual walk for Saturday, September 23rd, 2023 from 6 to 12. There will be music played after 8:30 and the use of the gazebo. 2023-90 authorizing 1-year lease extension for the 2023 surf camp. In 2023-91 authorizing a 1-year lease extension for volleyball clinics, individual volleyball clinics. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. 2023-92 bill list for March 8th, 2023. Make a motion to approve the bill list for 2023-92.
I'll second.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. 2023-93, a resolution appointing Gregory C. Fehrenbach, Principal Government Management Advisors LLC as acting borough administrator and awarding a non-parent open public service contract to Government Management Advisors LLC to perform acting administrative services. Make a motion to approve 2023-93.
Second.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
2023-94 authorization to award a bid contract to Lake Terrace Park ADA improvements. Make a motion to approve 2023-94.
Second.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. 2023-95 authorization of award of proposal for administrative construction cost for Lake Terrace. Oh, did I just do that? No,
Yeah.
no.
No, it's
That's right. For the Lake Terrace ADA park. I thought I was doubling up there. Make a motion to approve 2023-95.
Second,
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. DeNoble,
yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes.
Excuse me.
2023-96, establishing beach front locker fees for 2023. Make a motion to approve 2023-96.
I'll second.
Mr. Marco,
Yes.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes, 2023-97, authorizing the borough administrator qualified purchasing agent to advertise for bids with an award not to exceed $80,000 for a hook lift truck for the Department of Public Works. Is this what
We should discuss. maybe that, so.
discuss this?
You just have a moment of council discussion. When you're finished.
On this particular,
Yeah.
2023-97,
Yes.
okay. So I guess there's council comments on 2023-97.
Yeah, really informational, educational, perhaps for the audience. I maybe one or two people saw this on the agenda and reached out to me individually, just asked me what this was all about. So just to make sure everyone knows what we're doing, if you haven't read the resolution already, our DPW reached out to the mayor, and the mayor in turn reached out to the council to say, hey, we do need a second truck. The one we have today, and it's only one, is 13 or 14 years old. It's fairly old, in pretty good shape, actually, I'm told. But one of the big challenges we as a borough face is this particular truck, if it goes in for any kind of maintenance, or if it has any kind of, God forbid, breakdown in the middle of a snowstorm type of thing, we don't have a backup. So I asked if there was an opportunity to secure a brand new truck. The truck we're looking at is still a used truck that's been totally refurbished, apparently. But it's a used truck, and I asked if we could get a new one instead. Would that make more sense? And apparently the new price tags are over $250,000. So I withdrew my request once I got that information. So I just wanted the residents to have a little better understanding of what we're voting on here and why.
Thank you. Yeah, questions? Okay, make a motion to approve 2023-97. Second.
Second.
Mr. Marco,
Yes.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes. 2023-98, authorizing an open public records information management shared service agreement with the county of Monmouth. Make a motion to approve 2023-98.
Second.
Mr. Marco,
I'm a little jealous and yes.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Weber absent, Mayor Fox.
Yes.
I will let you know how it works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna move to mayor and council.
Any announcement?
There are no announcements. Thank you.
We had one, I guess we'll do it during public comments. I had one email. It was, I should have read it during the agenda.
Should do it during.
Public comment. Yep, we'll do it second round. I want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See the chief here. I had asked Chief Weed to make a few comments tonight. I guess he's not available, but also asked the borough administrator if she has any comments or report outs. She wants to. Current business administrator, yes.
Do I
Yes,
want to what?
you're up.
Oh, okay. I have the fire first aid report. First aid for the operational period ending March 8th, 2023. The squad responded to 9-day calls, 79 calls for a total of 16 calls. 12 were medical, 4 were fire. There were no out of town mutual aid requests. The squad required no mutual aid. The squad fulfilled 100% of their assignments for the operational period. For the fire department, for the operational period ending March 8th, 2023, the department responded to 4 requests for the department. The department conducted 1 drill, ground ladder and power saw safety for the safety and education of the members. There were no out-of-town mutual aid requests, and the department requested no mutual aid. The department fulfilled 100% of their assignments for this operational period. Please note that the fire department and first aid is still looking for volunteers. But they offer free training for qualified individuals. Anyone wishing to volunteer for the fire department or first aid squad applications can be found on the borough's website. Please mention, it says, please mention the cooperation that exists between the fire and first aid squad that is allowing us to keep answering our citizens' needs for medical care and fire protection at no cost. For 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And this was prepared by Secretary Johnson. And that's
You didn't have anything engineering related?
well, that would be where I would ask that the engineer get up and speak to that. Yeah, that's been that last or engineer.
Thank you, Chairman, Mayor and Council. So just a couple quick updates. You just awarded the ADA improvements to Lake Terrace Park. So that's exciting. We'll get the contracts executed with that, and we'll set up a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, figure out his schedule. We have the improvements to Park Place Avenue. That's your DOT funded project. The plans and specifications for that have been completed, been submitted to the DOT for review, and we're awaiting their approval before we go out to bid. There are two projects that we found out that there is federal grant money available through Cory Booker's office and Frank Warren's office. We're looking to do improvements to Main Street. There's federal money. There's generally a lot of it. So we're swinging for the fences, trying to get a good grant available that's available for that project. And then Sylvan Lake Park, Sylvan Lake walkway improvements. There's we're going to be looking for federal discretionary funding for that project. I also have a plan to attend the next Sylvan Lake commission meeting on the 15th to discuss this project with them. It's input. And also at that meeting, I'm going to talk to them about a recent request from your public works director for Sylvan Lake Park landscaping improvements. There's some dead plants out there, perhaps a need for some shade trees, and we want to improve that. And I'll be able to have a discussion with them, get their comments and figure out what would be agreeable to everybody. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
When is 3rd and 4th Avenue getting paved?
3rd and 4th Avenue, I guess that is in regard to the sewer.
Yeah,
project.
it is.
Yeah,
That is not being handled by my office, so
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
all right.
So Kim, do you have, you don't,
That would be the spring, well, further, I know we've had a mild winter, but
Yeah.
it would be when
yeah, it's gonna
plants
be,
open back up,
it's high on the priority list to get done. So as soon as we can get them
the plants
to
have
do
to
it,
open.
we will.
Yeah, typically the asphalt plants shut down at Christmas and
Oh.
open up in
Right.
mid-March.
But we also have curb cuts. We were very fortunate this year to finish more than we thought we could because of the weather and because we worked a little bit of asphalt magic, but we're hoping to finish that as quickly as we can this spring.
Ben, one, just a warning, thank you, I'm happy to hear you'll be joining the Sylvan Lake Commission meeting. I know I've mentioned it to you a couple of times already, but one more time, just to make sure you're not blindsided. That group right now, as we speak, does not want any part of a walkway, so just go in there, eyes wide open. And maybe you'll change their minds, but I just want you to be aware.
When I'm able to explain it to them, maybe they'll see differently. Right.
With the
I
walkway,
don't want to take away from the green space that's already there. So the proposal is to take some of the roadway, which is, I think in some parts over 50 feet wide, and use that to narrow the road and use that part as the walkway.
Very good, they'll be interested in hearing about that.
could you do like a pervious walkway of some sort?
Yeah, definitely. That's-
One of the things we're looking at. yeah.
One is definitely one thing that, particularly with the new NJDEP stormwater regulations. They're, it's very strict. They're very much into pervious pavement systems or other types of systems like that. So we're looking at those options.
Excellent.
What's nice too, though, if it is gotten by a grant, it is expensive. So it's a perfect opportunity right now to actually.
Right,
look
so
at
if
something
if
like
you
that.
were to use some of move the curb line essentially to put the walkway, you have drainage along the curb line, you have streetlights there. So it would be a good opportunity to look for a large funding source to be able to do that project.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we're trying to go through this grant.
Yeah, and we're trying to hustle because Congressman Baloney's office in Senator Booker's kind of hit us a little bit late on it and said, get it to us by the 15th and 17th of March.
Yeah.
So we're scrambling a little bit, but there's a lot of money out there, so if we can get some of that money, it would be a good thing.
Give any update on it was a 1.3 million grant that has been awarded but not divvied up, like, do we know how that's gonna get divided?
We don't know yet. It has been awarded, but the grant agreements have not been distributed yet to the recipients. So Monmouth County is the recipient of the grant, and then there'll be executing an agreement with the federal government, and then there'll be a sub-agreement with the borough. But we're still waiting on that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to council and mayor comments. We'll start with Council President DeMarco.
Thank you, Mayor. The Environmental Commission would like to invite everyone to join them at the Spring Beach Sweep, which is being held on Saturday, April 1st from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Twice a year, volunteers across the state of New Jersey clean debris off our shorelines. And last year, over 10,000 volunteers, including hundreds right here in Bradley Beach, cleaned over 500,000 pieces of debris off the beach. So pre-registration is required. We meet at the gazebo. You can choose either a 9 a.m. start time or a 10 a.m. start time, and you can register at cleanoceanaction.org, and we hope to see you there. Additionally, the Memorial Day Parade Committee met today to discuss plans for the 2023 parade. The parade will be held on Saturday, May 27th at 10 a.m. sharp, which was very emphasized in the meeting, on Ocean Avenue. Vendors will be on the boardwalk on Saturday and Sunday, and the Memorial Day ceremony will be held on Monday, May 29th. The committee is currently seeking vendors for the weekend. So if you're interested in becoming a vendor, please find the application on the borough website, or you can reach out to Michelle here at the Municipal Hall, extension 1029. And lastly, just want to take a moment to wish everybody a happy International Women's Day. This year's theme is Embrace Equity, where we imagine a world free from bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and where difference is valued and celebrated. According to Census and Rutgers University data, 50% of New Jersey's population identifies as female, yet only 14% of our elected federal delegation and 16% of our elected mayors are women. Also of note is Tuesday, March 14th is Equal Pay Day. This symbolic date, which aims to raise awareness about the gender wage gap, denotes how far into the year a woman must work to be paid what men were paid the previous year. Black Women's Equal Pay Day is July 27th, and Latina Equal Pay Day is October 5th, and LGBTQ+ Equal Pay Day is June 15th. So today, let's take a moment to celebrate women's achievements, increase visibility, and raise awareness about gender discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Denofa.
I am the liaison for tourism, and I have some announcement. The Mediterranean Festival is taking place March 25th, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Ascension Center, 501 Brindley Avenue. They are going to have music, live dance performances, food and crafters. There'll also be several Italian cars for show outside the center. I didn't know about that. That's cool. Annual Shamrock Hunt starts this Friday till the 17th. So take a walk around town and you might find a golden painted rock. You take the rock to the rec center and you pick up your prize. And then also on April 22nd, the Green Fair is coming back in Riley Park from 10 to 3 p.m. And with the school, okay, the PTA, mark your calendar, March 19th, it's a Sunday, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. They're hosting a gift basket auction. And again, that's at the Ascension Center. And $25 per ticket, and that includes appetizers, salad, wraps, desserts, coffee, and water, BYOB. So it could be fun. Okay, and then, oh, with the Shade Tree, I'm also their liaison. And they're going to do a planting again, April 29th. If you would like a free tree, you can get a free tree. Shade Tree does it all with a lot of help from the DPW, of course. And you think, well, why do we need a tree? Well, trees are the ultimate multitasker. They clean our water, they reduce flooding, they reduce air temperature, they reduce energy bills, they increase property values, they slow erosion, they slow traffic, they reduce noise, they reduce stress, they improve your health, they increase economic stability, they provide habitat, they beautify our homes, they lengthen our road paving cycle, and they improve our quality of life. Now with the school, let's see, I'm the liaison for the Board of Ed. They had a meeting. They discussed their annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2022. The kids, for the first time, had an engineered competition. The students had a blast competing against each other and other schools for tackling real world problems and designing and engineering a design solution. These are our future. And the Board of Ed also celebrated the high honor students. And it was Happy Read Across America Week. And Mrs. Guzzi donated books. A local author came, Lisa Alex, and they had guest readers from the Bradley Beach Police Department there. And they also had bilingual book buddies. They had a great time with the 3rd and 4th graders. And they stated, en todos idiomas, los libros son amor. In all languages, books are love. And that completes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Gubertos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a very quick police report that a subject was arrested for driving while intoxicated this past weekend. And also our K9 units were deployed for 2 separate occasions to assist neighboring towns with narcotics searches during the respective towns' motor vehicle stops. Both deployments yielded successful results, identifying drugs and or paraphernalia. So kudos once again to our police department. At our last meeting, February 22nd, the mayor mentioned to the public that Ms. DeNoble and I would be working on short-term rental ordinances. And I know everyone in the borough, or many people who have come to past meetings, are very interested to hear a progress update. We've actually made some progress in rewording some of the elements of the earlier draft. We have now, though, turned back to the mayor and our BA to determine if we can engage our borough planner to help us in redrafting that language. So more to come on that, but we have not forgotten it just because it was not, workshop today, for example. There was some discussion at our last meeting also about handicap lockers, and we're at least exchanging emails, the mayor with the other council members, just around some additional strategic planning that we'd like to see occur regarding those, the location of the handicap lockers and, how we might best serve that community. So that is also in progress. I think a resident asked about some of the other locker deployment issues earlier tonight, but handicap lockers is part of that broader process. And in fact, I think, Mr. Mayor, you're planning to visit Asbury at some point.
I already did.
You did, okay, so Asbury, I mentioned a couple meetings ago, has some facilities set up to help accomplish improved access for wheelchair-bound handicapped individuals. So I'm looking forward to the mayor's feedback on his visit.
It was a very cold morning this morning.
Yeah.
This morning and 40-mile winds.
Yeah, not a good time to be at the beachfront, maybe. CME, our engineer who spoke a few minutes ago, Mr. Matlack, has been working diligently for, I believe, many months on revising, revamping, making suggested edits to our zoning ordinances, chapter 450. The electronic version that I last saw, that includes some of Mr. Matlack's edits, but nonetheless, it spans 129 pages, so it's a fairly comprehensive document. Number one, I want to tip my hat to you, Mr. Matlack, and anyone else on your team that you've engaged. And secondly, I am now, just as a representative of the council, I am now reviewing a lot of the suggested edits and plan to have a follow-up with Mr. Matlack at some point in the near future. Two quick RFP notes, request for proposal notes. One, I believe we are really close, per an update from Ms. Humphrey the other day, that we're really close to issuing an RFP on the sewers. And separately, I believe we're really close to issuing an RFP for our IT consulting position.
It's already out.
Oh, it's already out. Okay.
We're waiting for it to come back.
Oh, and you said within a week or so. Okay, great. So I think those are two good steps forward. And then my last comment for the evening, I believe this is our BA, Ms. Humphreys' last meeting with us. I just want to thank her for her service to Bradley Beach, and I want to wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a number of things, good things going on around infrastructure and some other things, but I'll try to cover them as quickly as I can and get to comments. Our two outfall repair projects are moving. Equipment and resources are on the beach at McCabe and Ocean, and we thought we would meet this week on Sylvan Lake, but it's going to get pushed to next week because of a conflict on the Avon side. But they are moving, and we're really pressing to get some good progress on those. On the north side of town, we mentioned Lakes Terrace Park. They're receiving that grant for refurbishment, and we've just gone through the bid process, so we're very happy about that. We are focused on the walking bridge too, between our two towns, between the Fletcher Lake Commission's working between Ocean Grove and Bradley Beach, and in the April timeframe, we will be doing a significant amount of repair on that walking bridge. We're going through the elements of that right now. Anthony DeMaio, the chair, has been working pretty diligently with us to get that moving. So north side of town is getting some good attention, and we're going to see some good things evolve over the next months. As we mentioned earlier, Senator Booker and Congressman Ballone's offices contacted us about grant opportunities. We're exploring those. We're trying to focus on Maine and Sylvan, and we hope to develop some good applications on that. Beach locker emails, we're going to get those out, if not by the end of this week, by Monday at the latest. That hopefully will get that process moving very vigorously. Mayor's Wellness Committee, we're wrapping up a needs survey. A number of people participated in that needs survey. We also applied for designation with the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute for our first full year. We filled out a 15-page application. It's not necessarily our chair, Barb Johnson, has done a great job, but the application isn't necessarily to garner an award. We're just really trying to look at where we are and are we on the right path of progress. Memorial Day planning has begun, as Council President DeMarco said, and that's always a big deal. I come now to a big announcement, and that is that to announce our 130-year anniversary celebration that we're targeting for June 10th. We're excited to announce that. We're trying to put a plan together right now, celebrating Bradley Beach since 1893 throughout the year. The Borough, Bradley Beach Business and Community Alliance, and the Historical Society will recognize our 130th anniversary with celebrating Bradley Beach with 1893 flags. Memorial Day Parade will have a significant amount of involvement. Dinner and music on the 10th of June. We're planning that right now. A taste of Bradley Beach, at least 130 dishes, hopefully. The North End on Ocean, and the mapping on Main Street by the Historical Society is going on at this point. The record and we are forming a volunteer team to help with logistics for the celebrations. A couple more quick things. Food pantry. You'll hear some calls from me in the next week or so on the food pantry pickup for the spring, March 18th. That's a big event in town. Lots of involvement, lots of volunteer lots of volunteer work, great work. And then we are targeting Park Fest for those who were involved in Park Fest last year. We had a number of bands, and that's targeted for July 10th. So June 10th, we've got the 130th anniversary. July 10th, we've got Park Fest. So we've got a lot kind of rocking for the June-July timeframe. I'll close with, I also want to recognize our business administrator, Kim Humphrey. We certainly have a lot to be thankful for all the things she's done for us in the community, and certainly look forward to continuing some level of interface with her to keep in touch and keep us moving forward. So with that, I will close and take any comments. Yes.
My name is Shishir, 112 Fourth Avenue. Could I please have an explanation as to how and why the Memorial Day Parade expanded to having vendors on the boardwalk? I came here a while ago and explained my concerns for the residents, the taxpayers, how they are inconvenienced and their quality of life is impaired those days because of noise, traffic, odors. You have band music playing around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That is time when some families have children sleeping, taking naps, and the music is blasting all over. Parking is an issue, and don't tell me about the parking on the north end, because I know that I've witnessed this enough times. The vendors will park their private cars on our streets, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, to make sure they get the prime spots. They run back and forth throughout the day, getting things out of their car. We have people urinating, trashing our blocks. And I feel as though we don't need this activity on the ocean front. That is a discovered part of our town. You want to talk about Main Street. We keep saying Main Street. Well, these vendors compete directly with Main Street. Why don't we have something on Riley Park where our businesses can profit and benefit from it? This seems like it's a major conflict of exactly what you're trying to accomplish in this town. Beach revenues are never increased during these days. That is a proven fact. So I can understand how my attempt to bring this to your attention has fallen on deaf ears. And I'm not speaking just for myself, I'm speaking for the residents of the first 2 blocks. And I'm just very disappointed in you and not listening and not respecting the residents in those areas. And you're disrespecting the people, the businesses on Main Street who are struggling to make ends meet. And you're taking business away from them. I am very, as you can tell, I'm extremely upset and disappointed in the thought process.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. This is the first I've ever heard of this walkway on Sylvan Lake. But it's maybe an interesting concept, but we paved Bradley Boulevard less than 3 years ago. And now we're gonna take it apart. So I just want to make that as a footnote for Mr. Matlack. That was just done when the sewers were changed. So I'm gonna take that one off my list. I'd like to welcome Mr. Fern back as the interim business administrator. Thanks for volunteering for this. And I hope you can really help the council in this advice and consent process as the temporary VA. I did also want to thank Ms. Humphrey for her service here in Bradley Beach. I wish you luck in Keyport. And I want to congratulate you on your nephew being hired as a Bradley Beach police officer. You must be very proud of him.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Community David, 304. I was gonna ask about the street being paved, so when you say soon,
As soon as is possible, I'm telling you, I'm on their case. So
I was gonna say maybe drive down it and see how bad it, you know, it's really, really bad.
I can't empathize with
For
them.
a long time.
I gotcha.
And also, yes, yay, International Women's Day, but I want to point out again, our two council women have yet to have a picture on the council website, but there's no picture of either one of you. I just looked it up. I didn't see any picture.
photo op.
There's no picture.
I thought
So
that was done.
I don't know who's responsible for
Double
that,
We'll check that because I thought it was done weeks
but
ago.
I just checked it just.
Yeah. No, I'll check what happened because it should have been done.
Maybe it could be just. put on my phone.
I didn't get a photo emailed to me from the photographer, so maybe.
From me, okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
The
Tracy.
Pictures have been taken. Yeah,
But yeah, it would be nice. you
Yeah.
know.
absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks for bringing that to our
Thank you.
attention.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Anyone else? Yes.
Top of where 610 Brinley Avenue. I know we're doing a holdover for those employees for 90 days, correct? Is what we have up to.
That needs to still be,
Not employees, but-
still being determined, yes.
So is it 90 days or
It's still being determined.
we don't know if it's 90 days? Isn't it like, I thought it was a rule or a law or something like that that has to be 90
We're going
days.
through that conversation right now.
Okay, so because the next meeting would be the last meeting if it is the 90 days, correct?
Yeah,
What happens if you guys, what if the council doesn't decide?
We'll-
We'll vote on it.
we'll move towards a resolution.
So next meeting we'll have the resolution?
No, I mean, I don't mean a resolution. I mean, we're trying to resolve that, yes.
That's a good way of not answering it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. Ms. Davison brought to mind, regrettably, the website, which, found it kind of personally confusing that, as of yesterday, and maybe even this morning, the sign at Borough Hall correctly indicated that there was a council business meeting tonight at 6:30. But on the website, it included the video where the 6 o'clock workshop. So, would have been nice had they had similar information, or actually the same information. And I look, there's 2 people listed as the communications department. And the communications get worse and worse, and we pay and pay and pay. And it's just mind-boggling again, how this administration drops the ball. And the waste of resources. And what I would call assets, although it didn't quite come up, I don't think, in the presentation, which is the people of our town. We are wasted. And it's just so sad and upsetting. And then we, in my opinion, are very generous with our salaries. Got so many people hired, so many people get contracts. And as I'm sure the council knows, it's very hard for the employer to break a contract. You really need to kind of prove like murder or rape in order to dismiss someone, something like that. But yet, the employees that we're so generous to easily break their contracts. And I'd like to see us think about legislating, so there's givebacks to the borough who trained in the Bradley Beach Way, accepted them with open arms. pay for some training. Maybe education for some people we also pay for. Paid for seminars, dues and all of that, and then we're cut short. Again, another waste of our funding. And this all comes full circle when you budget. And when you don't sharpen your pencil and you continually give away with paying for the Memorial Day parade, paying for this committee, paying for that committee, which may I say is also very confusing on the website. With different name, with the same name, but two different things. Community is one thing, community is another thing, as an example. And I just wonder, as the legislators, if you can put your heads together and legislate as much as possible, as picky as possible, because obviously, things just happen if we don't. And they seem to be taking our town in the wrong direction, which hopefully we can straighten out going forward.
Thank you. I think there's one hand up in the back in the screen. And you have one comment.
Yes, Paul Champion.
Yes.
Paul Champion, 411.5 Lorraine Avenue. On the Biazi Center mold situation, could I have a progress update?
Yeah, I spoke to the head of construction today. He's hopefully get back to me tomorrow. The mold professional was coming in to do the deeper assessment as to the status, as to what the belief has to happen. So hopefully within the next couple of days, we're going to have that that assessment from from the construction team.
Thank you. I need to know, obviously, because of the logistics involved, if there's major remediation needed, I'll have to probably it'll probably involve the collection of the Historical Society Museum.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that was one of the concerns I had with the mold and construction guy. I said we really need to get this assessment complete as quick as possible. So I had 2 conversations with our construction supervisor today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Randy Vanel, 506 Third Avenue. Last year I was given a schedule that said the paving would be done by Memorial Day. That's roughly 10 weeks. Can we get a hard commitment on that? I don't take that as enough.
Well, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to say
the
yes.
next thing I have to say
Well,
is that what I've seen
I'd like
here,
to finish my
no,
answer.
thank
No.
you, but no, wait. What I've seen here tonight and over the last couple of years is an extremely disingenuous behavior by you, Larry. When a council comes together and they don't agree with you, it's time to concede. It's that simple. And I'll give everybody here a real simple example of the disingenuousness. About a year ago, you tried to censure me for an issue that revolved around our zoning and building departments being held accountable for enforcing codes. And it was a continual stream of residents who came to me with complaints. Eventually what happened was a couple individuals filed a claim against me. And that claim was so solid that they quit in 6 months and nothing ever happened, except for you trying to censure me for it. And in your censure, you claimed that I was not doing my job as a council member and I was detrimental to the town. 2 months ago, you signed a proclamation for my exemplary behavior and dedication to this town and service. That was a lie on your part to even sign that. That's just one small example. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Any other comments?
We have Julia on Zoom. Julia Rand?
Yes, Julia.
Julia Rand, Bradley Beach Arts Council. I think the meeting was very productive. Thank you very much to everyone. I congratulate our two female council, well, not just female, councilwomen that are on the council for what they're doing already. It's a great addition. I want to mention just briefly what's coming up with the Bradley Beach Arts Council. The end of April, we're doing a program called Cats, Cats, and More Cats, which will be a lot of fun for everyone. And it's free admission. Will be at the Grammar School Auditorium. And in the summer, we do the Shakespeare Festival, July 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Outdoors, again, free. And that's what I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Julia. Thanks for that. Okay,
I have the one email, if you don't mind.
okay, you have one email?
So I received an email this afternoon from Tim Sexsmith of 500 Lorraine Avenue. This is a question towards the borough attorney. Tim is asking, let's see. Please provide the legal justification as to why the proposed changes to Borough Ordinance Chapter 5 are legal when they appear to be in direct conflict with New Jersey, with NJSA 40:69A-122 and 124 of the optional municipal charter statute. Do these proposed changes put the borough at risk?
You may want to just take that offline and answer it offline. It sounds
So
like.
just forward me the email or?
Yeah.
I would give it to you.
I'll send you one of the-
No, it's okay.
the opinions
You
on
can
the-
have
on the-
It sounds like it's got, it sounds like it's got arms and legs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Me, myself.
Now, if we can get this late.
I was like, it's not mine. I'm not. Sorry, right. I didn't know that. Right. Why? He would have been. Yeah. The rest of those.
I'm sorry.
You don't care about the residents, how they're. I have no objection to the play. You need a raw body. I am furious. I have so much consideration for your president. I just want to know all the things that my family's going to do, emails. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'll send you that email so you see how we sent it, everything.